How do you talk to abortion-minded women who are about to abort their baby to have the best chance at saving the child? Welcome to Pro-Life Thinking, a podcast that trains you how to defend the pro-life position effectively and persuasively. I'm your host, Clinton Wilcox, and once again, my co-host is not exactly AWOL, but he's not here. He's getting himself a new job with the police force in Escondido, and so I forget what it was he was doing today. I think he's on a ride along, is what he's doing right now. So, wish him wish him luck with that. Uh, and yeah, so he's actually going to be starting, I believe, in April, which means that he's not going to be able to do the podcast any longer, or at least on a regular basis. So the question that I have to pursue is: should I continue on my own, or should I find another person to fill in for him and co-host with me? So if any of our listeners have any thoughts on that, feel free to let us know. You can comment on the video on our Facebook or MeWe pages, or you can send me an email at our podcast email, which is prolifethinking@gmail.com. I'm currently leaning toward finding another co-host because I think it might be a little more interesting to listen to two people back and forth, especially if we don't have a guest. But there are advantages and disadvantages to going it alone and to having a co-host. So if you're listening and you have any thoughts on that, feel free to let us know your thoughts. But today, oh man, my voice just cracked like I'm still going through puberty. That was awkward. So my guest for today, and I'm very, very excited to have him here. My guest is Jacob Nels. Jacob Nels left a 16-year career as a carpenter to follow his passion for investing in the lives of people by taking a job with Justice for All. Since 2008, Jacob has been working to make abortion unthinkable, to make Jesus thinkable, and teaching others to do the same. Jacob works to show pro-life and pro-choice people that humans matter more than divisive arguments. Through respectful dialogue, sound reasoning, and compassion, Jacob hopes to teach pro-life advocates to love their neighbors and go teach others to do the same. During his time as a pro-life ambassador, God has used Jacob to help save dozens of lives from abortion and teach hundreds of pro-life people to grow in compassion and understanding for the pro-choice people they disagree with. Jacob has witnessed thousands of people on both sides of the issue cease fighting toe to toe and move to a place of respectful understanding for their fellow human. Jacob's primary role at Equal Rights Institute is training people to sidewalk counsel and mentoring them through speaking and their Sidewalk Counseling Masterclass. Jacob, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Clint.
Yeah, glad to have you here. Now, this episode will have the audio extracted and will make its way onto our audio-only podcast. If you're watching the live broadcast and will be engaging in the live chat, I'll post relevant comments and questions for our guests on the video screen. And you're definitely going to want to tune in to the end of or you're going to want to continue watching through the entire interview because we're actually going to be offering a 10% off discount for their Sidewalk Counseling Masterclass. So you're definitely going to want to get that and take advantage of it as well. So I'll be giving that just pretty much before we wrap up here. So the main topic for discussion today is on sidewalk counseling. Now, the way that I approach the abortion issue is, I study the academic literature. I read the philosophers like Frank Beckwith and Christopher Kaiser, folks like that. And that's great when you're going onto a college campus and encountering people who may have never heard the pro-life position before or have never heard an intellectual case for the pro-life position. But sidewalk counseling is a whole different animal. And it's not something that really, that kind of thing doesn't really come easy to me. I've gotten a lot better at it because I too have, I haven't worked for Justice for All, but I volunteer with JFA, and I am a certified speaker and mentor through JFA. So through the JFA program, I've become a lot better at more of a dialogue kind of thing as opposed to a debate. But sidewalk counseling is even more different from that because in sidewalk counseling, you're actually talking to outside of an abortion clinic. You're talking to abortion-minded women or sometimes even couples who are about to abort their child. And so that doesn't take a debater or an arguer, but it takes a whole different skill set. And that's really the topic that we're going to be talking about today. And it's something that Jacob Nels excels at. I've heard a lot of great stories from Josh Brom and others who know Jacob about his sidewalk counseling. So I'm very, very pleased and very, very excited to have him here because he knows about sidewalk counseling way more than I do. So Jacob, this first question I have is sort of a question that I always ask my first-time guests because it helps kind of get to know them a little bit. My question is just, why are you pro-life?
Yeah, I grew up in a Christian family and was kind of de facto pro-life because of that, but I didn't want to talk about it. So I say I was de facto pro-life, but in reality, looking back on it, I was pretty much pro-choice. It was just,
Oh.
I'm personally pro-life. I don't want to get into that. I don't care what happens out there. And why would I ever go talk to someone about abortion, because we Christians have no ground to stand on and we're just going to lose. That's what I thought. So I got exposed to the pro-life position and some apologetics, and I just got really excited. And I was like, wow, I believe so many things that weren't true about this. I'd love to be able to share that with other people, to know the truth of what's happening with abortion and how bad it is. And so I just got really excited, started doing a lot of volunteer work. I was working as a carpenter at the time, but I was going to different events. I go to Planned Parenthood events. I wasn't like making a ruckus, but I go and just try to understand where they're coming from and have conversations with people. And long story short, I got introduced to Justice for All, and they further changed how I was having conversations. I was doing more of Dukes Up debate, turning into like verbal altercations, and that was not going well. I was losing some friends because of it. And then I got introduced to Justice for All, went through their training program, and then went and did outreach with them and just had a phenomenal time. So from there, I continued volunteering for Justice for All until one day long story short, they hired me. And so I worked for them for quite some time, and still have some dear friends there. I want to name them, but I'm afraid I'll forget some. But I'll just say Steve Wagner was instrumental in my pro-life career. And then John Wagner and Paul Koulis. I remember Paul. I still talk to him sometimes. But anyway, some great people, good friends over there. I transferred from Justice for All to when Equal Rights Institute started up. I worked with Tim at Justice for All at that time. So that's kind of how I got to know Tim. That is how I got to know Tim. And when Tim went over to Equal Rights Institute, a short time later, I followed him and joined up with ERI.
So the job that you do for ERI, were you doing pretty much the same thing for JFA?
Well, no, it was a very different. For Justice for All, I was doing a lot of, we called it account management and building accounts. When you say accounts, it's not about money, it's about people. And so maybe high schools, they'd have a lot of students. And so I would manage that account, set up a training, and Justice for All would come in, we'd do a training for them and different things across the state of Georgia. And that was my area I was in charge with. When I moved over to working for ERI, I was pretty much just doing like logistics, and I do a pretty good job at having conversations with pro-choice people on campus. And those two things Josh really liked, and Tim spoke highly of me, so Josh hired me. But okay. Sidewalk Counseling, I had told Josh, look, I go to the abortion clinic every Friday. And it's kind of funny, Josh was like, that's great. I think that's healthy for you, and I want you doing that, but it really doesn't have anything to do with what we do at ERI. So it's great that you're doing that, but it's not really going to benefit ERI. We're not really, and I was fine with that. I was like, that makes sense. That's okay. So I was doing a lot of sidewalk counseling, and you said it earlier in your opening monologue about how it's a different conversation in front of the abortion clinic. I didn't really realize that. I knew it was going to be somewhat different. So I was working, doing my job with Justice for All, and I kind of went to a 40 Days for Life event. Wonderful people. If you don't know any 40 Days for Life stuff, you should find it and go do it. And if you are doing it, thank you so much. But that's how I got exposed to sidewalk counseling. I went there, and it was before the clinic opened, and I was like, well, this is kind of interesting. I think I'm going to stick around and see how things go. And I quickly realized that how I was having conversations with college students in non-crisis situations, all those things I was doing was basically useless information. I've been doing sidewalk counseling for years, and I've never spoken to. There's a dog. I
Yeah,
have
sorry, that's my
never
dog.
spoken to an abortion-minded person about what are they pregnant with. Is it just a clump of cells? Is it a human being? None of that. That's never. I don't remember that ever happening. Or overpopulation, or some of these more like corporate problems that people talk about abortion should be necessary. And the best way I've found to describe it is it's like when I'm talking to an abortion-minded person, it's like we are or they are in a burning building and they're desperately looking for a way out. And they see an exit, and that exit's abortion. And they kind of know and feel like I'm going to get burned if I go out there, but I don't have a choice. I have to get out of this burning building. That's the way I'm going. I'm going through this burning, going through this burning building. Whereas when I was talking to students in non-crisis situations and people just in general, like at the university, it was like we were standing back a safe distance, watching the building burn, talking about how we could put it out or what could be done about it. It's just a different mindset.
Yeah. Well, real quick, I guess I'll go ahead and show her. This is my dog here. Her name is Roxy.
Right.
Every once in a while, she gets a little fussy and tries to horn in on my interviews. But if she gets too fussy, I can just let her out. But or I can just mute the microphone. Either way. But yeah.
No complaints here about Roxy from me.
All right. Yeah. I was gonna mention something else, but I forgot what I was gonna say. So I'll just go ahead and continue with the next question here.
Sure.
Okay. So then my next question is regarding what is it that sidewalk counselors do? Now, we already mentioned a little bit of it, when I first spoke and when you were just talking here. But is there anything additional to what you do as a sidewalk counselor that would be important to mention?
I think first, what pro-life people need to have some kind of grasp on, and I'm not going to say that I fully understand this, but I spend a lot of time trying to understand what an abortion-minded person's going through, what their mindset is, what's happening. Because to pro-life people, it just doesn't make sense very often why somebody's going in for an abortion. And I've heard some things said like, "Oh, well, she's just selfish. That's why she's doing it." And I think that's a horrible reasoning thought process. That's just not true. I'm not asking you or your audience to agree with what I'm about to say, to agree with what the pro-choice person thinks. I'm just asking people to understand this is how they feel. This is what's going through their mind. And what they feel like is this pregnancy, if seen to fruition, will be the death of who they are. Not necessarily in a physical way, but in a self-identified way, and it'll be the death of their dreams, of their future, of everything they know to be stable and true in their life. All that dies, blows up, and with the death of this child. So it's a very scary thing. There's a lot going on inside their head when they're going to that abortion clinic. They're also told by just kind of culture, and I think very often the abortion clinic, that those of us who are out on the sidewalk, they'll refer to us as protesters. You won't hear me say that. I refer to us as sidewalk counselors. That we are mean and vindictive and judgmental, and we're going to yell and scream at them and call them a slut and a whore and all these awful things. So they have that perception when they're driving up to the abortion clinic. And one of our jobs as sidewalk counselors is try to remove that idea or diminish it. So the first thing that I tell people that they could do correctly is have good signs. If you have a sign that says abortion is murder, it's not going to go over well for you as far as getting people to come talk to you. I'm not saying that no one will come talk to you. I am saying that you will have far less people come talk to you. So one of my favorite signs is something that says like, here to help, not to judge. I'm sorry for what you're going through. Free ultrasound, free pregnancy test. So I'm able to maybe get into a conversation with them and get them to a pregnancy resource center instead of an abortion clinic where they can get some free services where they're going to be paying a lot of money at the abortion clinic. So I might go that route, trying to just help them save money. So when we only have a few moments, and depending on what your abortion clinic looks like and where you can legally stand, that's something we go over in the course. Is one of the things we open talking about is before you go to the clinic, you need to go figure out, and we tell you how to do this, figure out where you can legally stand. Usually there's a right-of-way along the side of the road. What that right-of-way is different for basically every street. I mean, you've got county, city, all these different things you have to look into to figure out what the right-of-way is on your street. Well, that's handy to have because sometimes people might come tell you can't be here. And if you've got the paperwork to say, yes, I can, then you're in a much stronger position. So you're standing there, you've got your sign, and you figured out where you can legally stand, and you're right there on that edge, and somebody pulls in, and so they see your sign. Hopefully they read your sign. That's not always the case. They may just assume they know what it is, and they kind of just have blinders, and they're headed towards the exit, which is the abortion clinic. They're trying to get out of this burning building. And so they'll get out of the car, and one of the first things I'll say to them might be something like, hey, I know you're going through a hard day. I'm sorry what you're going through. Just trying to disarm, trying to bring it down. I have one goal at this point, and it's not actually to save the child or get some information to them that makes them change their mind. I'm trying to be a human being they want to come talk to. In my experience, that's the most effective thing I can do because I don't know of any one-liners that I can throw out or maybe even a couple of lines that stop people from having an abortion. Now, there are things you can say, and sometimes those things work. But my percentage, if I can get somebody to come talk to me, is somewhere in the range of, on a bad day, it's about 50% choose not to have an abortion once they've talked to me. That's on a bad day, or a bad day, 50% choose to have the abortion. On a better average, if you go through our course, you're probably going to be much higher than that. Somewhere around 75 to 80% of the people who come talk to you decide not to go through with the abortion. You have a very high success rate. So remember, it's not your signs, it's not your literature, it's you that's the most powerful thing in front of that clinic as far as they're concerned. So I'm going to say something trying to be disarming. I've even told people things like, hey, you don't want to park there because you're underneath a hickory tree and those hickory nuts are going to really damage your car. And so they're just kind of taken aback. Wait, this guy's actually being nice to me. He's trying to help me. And if they'll turn and face me just a little bit, I might say something like, hey, my name's Jacob. Come tell me your story. I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm not here to throw any stones. I just care about people. Who are you? What happened? Nobody wants to be here today. Nobody have an abortion as part of their 5-year plan. This wasn't part of your plan. So what happened? Why are you here? I have found that so many people going in for an abortion considered themselves on some level to be pro-life before this. They were like, I never thought I'd have an abortion. I never thought I'd be here. But if you just understood how bad my situation is, you'd understand that I need the abortion. And so I listen to them. And this weird thing happens where when people start talking about their situation and what's going on, and they haven't just been stewing in their own mind, they're able to verbalize it. It doesn't seem as daunting and bad to them once they're able to talk about it. And so one of the weird things I do is I just shut up and listen and get them talking. And I've had several people talk themselves out of having an abortion. It's really funny. Like I've had people come down and I'm like, I didn't say anything useful. I am not doing anything good in this conversation. I'm just asking them some basic questions. They're answering. And before I know it, they're like, I guess this is a bad idea. I guess we don't need to do this. I think there's another way out for us. I think we could just do this other thing. And they go, thank you so much for talking to me. I just really appreciate what you've said and what you've done here and talking to us. And I'm thinking in my head, I didn't say anything. I just listened to you. You did all the talking. You figured this out. And I think that's true with a lot of people. The problem is not that they are financially destitute, or they may not have a place to live, or their boyfriend's gonna kick them out. Those seem like real problems, and I'm not underplaying them. I'm not saying that they're not problems.
Right.
The biggest problem that they have is they've lost hope, and talking to someone sometimes just builds them back up. I tell people all the time, I think you're far more capable than you realize. I think you believed a lie that this is the best you can do, and I just don't believe that about you. I think you can do a lot better.
Yeah, and you made a lot of really great points, which I think a lot of people just don't often think about. You mentioned, you want to make sure you have a good sign, and I was thinking, the reason that you want to do that is because you want to bring people to you. But if you push away more people than you draw to you, you actually have a net loss of people that you could have talked to. So it's not just that you're reaching the people who are maybe like who God is prepared to talk to you or something like that, but you've actually pushed more people away that you could have talked to. So it seems like that net loss is something that we need to take into consideration as well, because even though it may look like you're doing good by reaching people, there are more people that you're kind of pushing away.
Mm-hmm.
So do you find that the laws regarding protesting are different wherever you travel? You mentioned, for example, some places there's only like you have to be a certain distance away from an abortion clinic or something. Are the laws regarding where you can stand and like who you can talk to, those kinds of things, do they kind of differ from place to place when you travel, or are they fairly similar across the board?
Yeah, they're usually pretty similar. Finding them is very difficult. It is very difficult to figure out where the right of way is. And so I don't want to bore your audience. It's not that was probably the boringest part of developing this course, was going into courthouses and the real estate and deed office, figuring and learning how to gather this information and then teach other people to do it. One of the ways you can do it is often real estate agents have access to this and they can get it. So that's like just one way that you might be able to do it easily. If you've got a good friend that's maybe a pro-life and they appreciate what you're trying to do out there, they might be able to help you get that information. It's important you have them print it and give it to you. As far as it being different from place to place, it's different from county to county, street to street. I have never run across them saying you flat out can't talk to someone. I'm pretty sure that's a violation of free speech. So that's pretty well not happening. I've certainly been told that and heard of people that have been told that, but it takes a little, and we have a whole section in our course where we talk about how to handle the police in a way that can help you and make you more effective. And I'll say this, when I was doing some sidewalk counseling, I learned some interesting things about when the police come. One, most pro-life conservatives don't have much experience talking to the police. And we take for granted sometimes what they say to us as the law. And most police officers, in my experience, they're not pro-life or pro-choice, and I know everybody's like bells are screaming in their head. No, you have to be one or the other. Listen, they're not on anyone. They have a job to do. Their job is, how do I peacefully resolve this situation, not have to come back and move on to the next? And so that's their goals. They're not trying to end abortion or make abortion possible or whatever. They're just trying to peacefully move. So sometimes they'll come and say things. I've had police officers say like, okay, yeah, you're on this side of the street, but I'm going to need you because they're complaining here at the clinic. I'm going to need you to go to the other side of the street. So go over there and stand, and that would just make things simpler. And a lot of times pro-life people are like, okay, the policeman told us we have to do that. We're going to follow the law because that's what he said. That's not the case, though. That may not be the law. So I really encourage sidewalk counselors and people to be very polite, very respectful, and say, officer, I don't want to break the law. I want to stay within the bounds of the law. And I'm a peaceful person here for a humanitarian thing, and I want to stay in that way. I don't want any violence or anything to happen. So, but officer, I really have to have clarity on this. I really need this to be clear. And it's important that you probably record this conversation at this point. And you can legally record a conversation between you and a police officer, in my understanding, anytime. like that even whatever state, some states are single party or both parties have to be informed, or all parties. If you're talking to a police officer, you can record it. Don't pull your phone out and be putting your phone up in his face and trying to record. You're trying to do this somewhat discreetly and respectfully. But I'm going to ask the police officer, are you saying, officer, that you'd prefer for me to go over there and that would make this whole thing easier? Or are you saying I have to go over there, and if I don't, what's the consequence? If I have to go over there because there's a consequence with it, what is that consequence? Is it a ticket? Are you going to arrest me? I don't want to go down that path, officer, but I must have clarity for this. And I found so often when you simply ask that question, the police officer goes, well, what I'm actually saying is I'd prefer for you to go over there. It would make things easier. And so you can say, well, I hear you, but we're trying to do some stuff we see is really important here. So we're going to stay over here. We want to stay within the bounds of the law, officer. We don't want to break any laws, but we're going to stay like over here where we can legally be, because I'm much more effective here. And we feel like kids are dying, and we're going to do everything we can within the bounds of the law to stop that from happening. And if you're reasonable with the police, they deal with so many people who are not reasonable. I've just found that I've been able to build a lot of rapport. I have one police officer that seemed to be coming out once a week for quite some time. And it was great. She was just like, oh, hey, Jacob, how you doing? I see you're here. You're on the right side. I know you know where you can and can't be. We got a call, so I came out. And hey, I'm going to go on. I'll tell my sergeant I came by and I didn't see any problems. Looks fine to me. You know what you can and can't do, and that's what's happening. And so it was just very easy and drove the clinic nuts. But
right. So that's yeah, kind of an unintended perk of being nice with the police officers. You get to drive the clinic nuts a bit.
Yeah. Later on, I had an incident with the clinic where one of their escorts got like behaved in ways that were not appropriate, and we talk about that in the course. But so I actually called the police and had the police come out, and it was that police officer. And when I told her what was happening, it was like, okay, that's true. That must be what happened. I believe Jacob. And he was not having a good day for it. She was like, what he did was illegal, and if you like, you can press charges and I will take him in. That's fine. And so it was just this interesting thing that most people don't understand. Be kind to the police, be reasonable, and try to avoid problems as much as you can, and you're going to build a great reputation with them. Get some good stuff done.
Yeah. So what kinds of things are not effective when you're sidewalk counseling?
Yeah, wow. We, Josh and I, when we were gone in Oregon, just last week, we did a seminar. We call it the Don't Be Weird section. So I encourage people to not be weird in front of the abortion clinic. And I mean that, like, of course it's weird that pro-lifers go out there. I don't mean that kind. But there are some things that we can do. So things that are not effective would be like some smaller things. Like let's start with being approachable. So you can go either way. You can look like you're homeless because you're not well groomed and your clothes aren't clean. And so people can think, why would I talk to that person? They can't keep themselves together. So you want to be clean, well groomed, your clothes together, and no holes and threadbare. Like I know this one guy who loves to come to the abortion clinic, and he has all these vintage shirts. Well, we're in Atlanta, and the Olympics were in Atlanta in 1996. So he actually has a really cool shirt, an original Atlanta 1996 T-shirt. Problem is it's got all these holes and stains, and if you don't know what that is, that he's been taking care of this shirt for the past 25 years or whatever, you think he just got it out of some rag bin and put this shirt on. So that's one thing. On the other end, you don't want to wear a suit and tie because now you're dressed too high. It's kind of like if any of your listeners watch The Office out there, that day Jim came to the office in a tuxedo. He did it kind of as a joke, but one of his head bosses that he'd never met came in, and it started them off on the wrong foot, and they never fixed it. You could run into the same problem at the abortion clinic if you're doing the same kind of thing. So I'm going to get into a couple of more, like a little bit more controversial, but I'm going to explain why. or things that pro-life people are like, no, that's a good one. And I'm just going to say, not in my experience. It's been, they've been very problematic. And that's
Yeah.
where pro-life people like to latch on to culturally relevant things that are happening. So, for instance, the whole Black Lives Matter, one of the biggest movements that's happened, probably the biggest movement that's happened in our lifetime. And pro-life people want to latch onto that for good reasons that they want to. But when they have signs or they say things like Black baby lives matter or all lives matter or those are the most common ones I hear. The person hearing that feels like you're hijacking what they're trying to do. And there's a disconnect for them on with abortion and that movement. And they feel like you're unfairly merging the two together. And it just creates a barrier. So I encourage people like to not say things like, I know somebody and they're like, Black baby lives matter. They're screaming this and they're trying to get the people to reconsider. And I have heard it said hundreds of times and I have never seen it work. All I've ever seen is they pick up faster and they move faster towards the clinic. One that I was really surprised to come across was, and I started off using this. I thought this is great. This solves the problem. Is abortion or adoption is the option, or we'll adopt your baby. I know that people have the best intent with that. It's very weird for an abortion-minded person when they see that. It is very off-putting. I know it's weird. It's hard for us to understand, but they feel something like, yeah, I can't have this baby. And if I had this baby, I would never like just give it to one of these strangers or something. And I wouldn't even know what kind of conditions they'd be in. Clearly, this is philosophically a horrible argument. But you don't have time to get into that with them. And even if you were, it doesn't really affect what their problems are. So I encourage people, don't hold up signs that say adoption's the option or even mentioning an adoption. In my experience, it pushes the pro-choice person into the clinic faster. If it's like a last ditch effort late in the conversation, this is after I've been talking to them for quite some time, I may bring it up then. But I'm more hesitant for some other reasons and stuff to bring up adoption. And I'll say I've lost count, well over 70 kids that have been directly involved in getting out of the abortion clinic. Not one has ever chosen to gift their child for adoption. There's something about the way I'm talking to people. I'm trying to help the abortion-minded woman bond with her child. Once she starts bonding with her child, the chances of her wanting to do adoption are so diminished. I've never seen that.
Yeah, and actually, that's a good thing for us to keep in mind, even if we're not sidewalk counseling, but talking to like a college student on a campus or something, is that adoption is a very difficult decision for a woman, and so it's not really something that we should just throw out flippantly because so many women decide to keep their child and raise the child. There is, of course, adoption if they need it, but it's not something that is really seen as a viable option because of how difficult it would be to give your child to another family, to have the child out there somewhere where you don't know what's going to happen to the child or anything like that. So that's even something that that those of us who engage with, outreach at college campuses or something would also do well to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I'll go a little bit farther with that point, Clinton. I know people don't mean this, but we may at times have gone too far on the other side of the pendulum where we're saying, no, do adoption. And what we may be saying, if we're saying, no, if you can't have the child, that's fine, just do adoption. What we might be saying to them is the same kind of thing the abortion industry is saying. We just have to be really careful of that because the abortion industry is saying, yeah, of course you can't have a child. Of course you're not capable. So don't do that. Don't have a child. Get out of that. And I think we need to start really having a dialogue and thinking about, are we saying, no, you can't have a child, so you have to give it up for adoption, instead of trying to build that person up, give them the support so that they can be a loving household for that child. It's just something I've recently been looking into. So
Yeah, and actually, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, that's it. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah. So actually, last week I interviewed an Australian doctor, Dr. Debbie Garrett, who I've been following on Twitter for some time, and we interviewed her about a book she published called "Alarmist Gatekeeping Abortion," and she actually said a lot of things kind of along the same lines that you are about adoption, because she's big on offering women resources so that they can keep their child and not have to consider adoption. So if any of our listeners are interested in what she has to say on adoption, feel free to listen to the episode from last week as well, because there's some additional insights that she has as a female doctor who can offer some insights on adoption as well. So there's that episode for some further information on adoption if any of my listeners are interested in that. Okay, so now we've talked about what's not effective, and I think that probably kind of leans into the answer to this question too. But how do you then handle the advantageous protesters? You mentioned the people who have the bad signs that are at the clinics, but the advantageous protesters. How do you handle those people when you're out sidewalk counseling?
Wow, I'm glad you asked this question, and it's something that's been really heavy on my heart and the staff at ERI and other sidewalk counselors, because it's the most difficult problem we have right now in front of the clinic is the pro-life protesters. And so I think in order to fight a problem, we need to know what it is. And I'm not going to hold punches here. You asked a question, so I'm going to answer it, Clinton.
Yeah.
Most of the time, well, I think usually people are talking about basically one, they're not even a group. They don't consider themselves part of the pro-life movement. So it's okay that I can attack them because they're not pro-life. They say that. But they also, they have a bunch, they put the ideas out there and people prescribe to those ideas and run with them. And I was attracted to them when I first got in pro-life movement, and then quickly realized they've got some major problems. And that group is AHA, or Abolish Human Abortion. And the ideas and the philosophies and the way that they go about doing things, or they teach to go about doing things, I view as the same way the Pharisees did. They are Pharisees. They are our modern day Pharisees. I might even go as so far to call them heretics. And I don't use either one of those things lightly at all. But the ideas that they prescribe to are evil and they're dangerous. And what they do is they focus on the law and the rules, and they completely throw out loving thy neighbor and loving the human being next to them. Like, it baffles me how much they throw these things out. And it is good to call sin sin and to help people understand that. It's bad to use it as a weapon. And they use the Bible and the scriptures as a weapon to cut people down. And I don't see them building people up. I'm sure AHA would disagree with that, but in my experience, I don't see it. So when they come out to the sidewalk, I want to encourage everyone to, first of all, don't fall into their trap and not have love in your heart. It's easy for me to love the people and understand and try to be there in some way for abortion-minded women. Like, that's doable for me. It's really hard for me to do it with the AHA and the abortion is murder crowd. Those I struggle with. So I just want to point out, I struggle with it. Makes sense if some of your listeners who are sidewalk counselors struggle with it. I just want to encourage you, get prayer, get people that have your back, and fight that we want to hate them, and fight the hatred we have for them. Hate what they do, not who they are. If you notice, I was very careful not to say the people are heretics. The people, I said, no, the ideas and the things that AHA prescribes to and teaches are, I think they're heretic, and they're certainly on a Pharisee level of some kind. So, okay, that doesn't really answer the question you asked, so I'm going to try to get into that. You go to the abortion clinic and either they show up or whatever, and they've got these signs and they're doing this. First of all, try to be nice, have a dialogue with them. I go up to them, I just say, hey, sometimes it's really lonely out here. I'm glad there's other pro-life people out there. My name's Jacob. What's your name? Tell me, what's your strategy here? Like, I'd love to learn what you're doing, why you're doing it, and see maybe there's something you're doing that can be effective that I need to adopt. And I mean that. Maybe there is. I can learn. I've learned from a practicing witch at Portland University. I learned things about the Bible from this person. So I'm saying you can learn from really bad things and situations. You just have to have the wisdom on how to pick what's true and what's good. So I will try to just have a discussion and saying, look, and maybe I'll gather the information. I'll say, look, you're doing things a lot different than we are. And so maybe there's some kind of compromise or something where you could try your way for a little bit and then we try ours. One of the problems with when those people show up, you might have 10 people there and 1 or 2 AHA types show up with their signs and they're yelling and screaming. Unfortunately, what's just happened is everyone at the clinic thinks, everyone going there, the employees, everything, think that the people out on the sidewalk are one perfectly organized, cohesive group that all worked out all these pieces and decided this is how we're going to do it. Nothing could be further from the truth. So often there's 5 different groups there with a couple of people in each group. Usually we all get along really well. So I'll challenge them to, maybe we can work something out. I have had success now this, first and foremost, in order to make any of these things work, you're gonna really need a lot of backup there at the clinic with you. You need other sidewalk counselors. It's best to have at least a 4-to-1 outnumbering of the other teams. So if they've got 2 people, you need 8. If they've got 3, you need 12. And so I had another time where I was at the clinic and these types showed up. It was actually a guy and his family. AHA is usually one person and then his family that he kind of drags along, and they've got differing levels of buy-in. Sometimes it's just 2 guys, but that's my experience who usually shows up. So I had this guy show up and he's got his wife wasn't with him and he's got a couple of his kids. I feel so bad for those kids. And so I went over and talked to him. He's like, nope, this is how I'm doing it. I've decided this is the right and true way. I am not hesitating from telling people the truth, and you are evil if you don't want to tell people the truth. I'm like, I don't know. I want to tell people the truth, but I want to tell them so they'll hear me. They don't hear you. And he went down that road. I said, look, here's the deal, bud. We have all been here for years, building trust with this clinic, getting people out. We don't come here and see less than a kid come out a day. I mean, we're getting at least 1 kid out a day. And this was around the time we had seen 5 people leave in one day. Beautiful day. But that's a big hit on the clinic. I said, so what we're doing, we know is working. The clinic is having problems. We're also talking to employees and clinic employees because we've been able to start some kind of friendship where we found out that we've got 1, maybe 2 who don't want to be here. They don't want to work here. And we know the clinic's having a hard time finding and hiring people. So we're getting real close. We might pull some of these people out, get them another job. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't it be great if they don't have the employees they need to do this job? And I said, but you're coming in here, you haven't done any research, you don't know what's going on here at this clinic, and you're just running through like a Miley Cyrus wrecking ball to everything we've been building. Yeah. And I don't appreciate it. And as a brother in Christ, I think this is sin. This is not right what you're doing at all. You need to drop your signs and you can join us or just leave because this is wrong. And he was like, well, then if you just want me to go, I said, that's not what I said. What I want you to do is stop doing what you're doing and you're welcome to stay. Or if you're not going to do that, then just leave. And so he goes, well, fine, I'll just leave. So he was there about 15 minutes, had this conversation, and he left. I started very kind, but towards the end, I'm very firm, I'm very direct, and I go there. I recently had a run-in with another AHA individual, one of the most closed-minded, hard, difficult people I have ever spoken with, and I talk to pro-choice people all over this country, and I've never run into one as bad as this guy, as arrogant and cocky and mean, just a mean person. So so here's some steps. You can try talking to him. You can use your premise if you've been there for a while. If you've got numbers, that's good. Inevitably, AHA will say something offensive to you. I think you can call him out on that and try to Matthew 18 him. Say, look, we're going to have to go before witnesses. We're going to have to work this out. We're going to have to go through some kind of mediation, and you might be able to pull in another kind of spiritual authority that could work. I have never been successful at that. I tried it last time. I may keep pushing that, but that probably won't work either. So the next thing I have, this is a long-term strategy, and you've got to have a lot of gas in your tank. You've got to understand that they are a passionate group that usually burns out and loses steam pretty quickly. So understand, stay in there for the long haul. And one of the reasons I say you got to have multiple people with you is so that you can, you got to kind of have like the sacrificial person that day. And that person is rotating. So I would suggest about 15 minutes of somebody comes in for 15 minutes. They're trying to engage, and they're doing things like when the AHA types say something mean, they shout back out, "Hey, I'm sorry, they're not with us. That what they said was wrong." They're like, and I'm going to start calling them Pharisees. I'm going to say they're like the Pharisees in the Bible that Jesus couldn't stand. So that you don't like them makes sense. You got good company. And I'm going to say these kinds of things just over and over and over for 15 minutes. Help me understand how you view the woman at the well. Help me understand how you view the woman who was about to be stoned for adultery. Why are you throwing stones when it seems like Jesus wouldn't? How are you following him? And I'm going to keep talking like this. And they will often lose steam. It takes time. This is not a quick thing. And they'll not come back the next time. So that's my best way my best way is to deal with them. Start off very nice and try to work something out and see if you can convert them over to their side. Remember, I almost did some stuff with AHA thinking they were cool. Fortunately, I saw the light, but what if somebody comes up and just starts screaming at me and doing this, advantageous stuff, I'm probably not going to pay any attention. But if they come talk to me and reason with me, they probably would have flipped me very easily.
Yeah. Now, we got started a little bit late. Do you have another 10 minutes or so?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I apologize for being late. I just got...
No. It's totally fine. I just wanted to make sure that you don't need to take off.
We're good.
Okay, cool. So yeah, actually, the way that you started with AHA is actually very similar to myself, because when I first heard about them, I got kind of excited and I was actually supportive of them until I started realizing their true colors, and then I distanced myself from them, just like most pro-life leaders have done as well.
You've got a great logo and graphics. I'm sorry, it's really appealing to me.
Yeah, and but the thing is, one of the differences between them and Sidewalk counselors is they don't really follow up with anyone, because they'll be quick to point out that they save babies because like a woman will get scared away by their tactics, but the problem is that they don't ever follow up with anyone who leaves. So the woman who gets scared away by AHA's tactics will most likely just reschedule the abortion and go back later and do it, whereas a sidewalk counselor, not only does he treat the abortion-minded woman with love and respect and compassion, but he'll actually follow up with her as well and make sure she's still doing okay, make sure she's still getting the resources she needs, things like that. And so when an abolitionist, as they call themselves, tries to say that they have a lot of success in saving babies, I'm very skeptical on that, because they don't follow up. And what's most likely happening is because they're really scaring her away and not really offering her resources. She's likely just rescheduling the abortion and coming back later when they're not going to be there. Is that
Yeah.
how you
I
feel?
think that I don't know. I do know that for an abortion-minded, person, and I'm saying person, not trying to be politically correct, because it might be her boyfriend that's really pushing her, and she'll go, "I'll have the baby, I won't have the baby. It depends on what you're going to do. Are you going to stay with me?" So that's why it might be the boyfriend that is the one that's either driving for the abortion or not, and she may not want to have it, but she's going to go with what she thinks he wants to do. So yes, I think you're compounding all these problems instead of giving solutions. And it drives me nuts when I have a problem and I'm like, hey, here's the problem, this and that. And somebody just puts more problems on top. Like, give me a place to go. Give me some hope on where to go and how to get there. Don't just pile more problems on top. Help me find solutions to them so we can get to a better place. And AHA doesn't do that. They just show more problems.
So if someone is interested in becoming a sidewalk counselor, how can they get involved doing that?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I say take our course, please. We made this. I told you how we got involved. I got involved with equal rights, and Josh was like, "Oh, we're not going to do sidewalk counseling." And I was like, "Yeah, of course not. We would never make a course for that." And then we did a podcast like you do, and it turned into a 2-hour podcast. And I felt like, oh my goodness, I just barely got out what people need to know, and I skipped so much, and I'm kind of rambling, and it's not well put together. And I said, well, I guess it's better than nothing. And we got person after person saying, man, that was great. Like, I learned so much. And I'm like, really? Because I didn't put it together very well. And so we made this course for that point. I think there's 6 hours or so. We go from how to go talk to pregnancy resource centers, build a relationship with them so that when you call and say, hey, I got one, they go, oh, hey, Jacob. Yeah, I'll get you in 15 minutes. Or, oh, we're really packed. They're not going to be here. Hold on. Let me call you back in an hour, but I don't have to have a long conversation about what's going on. And they know me when I walk into the pregnancy resource center. We go through how to handle and talk to the police. We talk about what signs are helpful and what signs are not helpful. We talk about how to start a conversation. Probably one of the toughest things we do is how do you get a complete stranger to come down and talk to you? So we have a whole module on that. And we have a conversation. How do you have a conversation? Where do you take it? What's effective? We actually use graphic visuals in that conversation. You don't have to. We're giving ideas for you. But I keep graphic visuals in my back pocket, and if you can, there is a way to use them in a very loving way that I've never had anyone get mad at me for doing. And then we talked about how you handle the police and how you research your clinic. All these things we cover there, and then I would just suggest 40 Days for Life. They're like my favorite people's out there. Find those, get involved. We talk about don't go to the abortion clinic alone. It's just not, it's dangerous for you. Maybe physically, not really, I don't think, but mostly we don't want the other side saying that you did something you didn't do, like throw rocks or something crazy like that. And you're like, of course I didn't do that, but it's your word against maybe 5 of them. So you need to have some backup there.
Yeah, that's also why you recommend filming as well, so that we can make sure that actual evidence.
I don't like set up a tripod and have filming because that's a barrier for people. They see that and they're not as likely to come talk to me. But as soon as something starts to go down, you need to start filming. We go over this in the course. Don't just pull out your phone and start filming. Put your phone in airplane mode. Because if you start filming with your phone and you get a phone call, it stops recording. I learned that the hard way. So we go over all these little details, trying to make sure you are as ready as possible. But yeah, 40 Days for Life. Join them and take our course and take a group through it if you can.
Okay, yeah, that's great information, of course. And I was wondering that too, because I was about to ask if they should find an organization that does it or if they should go by themselves to do the sidewalk counseling. But you're recommending they find other people to go with, to avoid any possible physical danger, but also to just avoid the other side ganging up on you and making accusations of something you didn't actually do.
You can learn a lot from the other sidewalk counselors that are there. Maybe they're not doing some things as well as they could be, but they probably know what abortion date, what days are abortion days. A lot of these abortion clinics might have one doctor that goes to 3 different clinics and travels, and which days he hits on. So you want to be as effective as you can and go to that clinic on the day that they're doing abortions. Or maybe you're going on the day that they're doing their pre-check or something, if your states do that, where they have to come in 24 hours prior to get examined or something. So all those little bits of information are going to be really helpful that you can learn from other sidewalk counseling. And when you're gathering that, you can get a hold of 40 Days for Life. If you start looking into this, you're going to start finding other people out there who are going to the clinic, and you find some like-minded people, and I would just suggest you join them.
All right. Well, so you mentioned that Equal Rights Institute has a sidewalk counseling course, and ERI has graciously given us a discount code for any of our listeners who can get 10% off the sidewalk counseling course. So before I give that out, I actually have the trailer that I'd like to play just to kind of give a better idea of what kind of information is contained in there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm getting a tip popping up here. Yeah, this is what Nathan and I always call it. It's the Spaceballs effect. I don't know if you've ever seen Spaceballs.
I have. I love it.
Okay, yeah, there's that scene with the future cassettes, and this always kind of reminds me of that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show the trailer for the Sidewalk Counseling Masterclass, and then I will give the discount code after that. So here is the trailer here. Real quick, I'm going to pause it. Jacob, are you getting any audio on the video?
I am not. So I was about to say there's something going on because we're not getting any audio, and there should be.
Okay, yeah. Let me try that again here, because I clicked share audio. So let's see. Actually, let's see. Let's try this. Well, no, actually, I don't think that would work. So yeah, so share audio, then share the screen. Okay. So let's try this again. Okay, so I have sound on. Still not getting any sound?
I am not.
Okay, let me try this a different way here. Unfortunately, because they have a way to share a video file directly from your laptop, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to actually get the video downloaded in time. So, okay, let's try it this way here. See if this will work. Still no audio?
No audio.
Okay, I'll try it one more time, and if not, then I'll just provide a link to the video in the show notes. But I don't understand what's going on because I'm clicking share audio, and I'm sharing the entire screen. I click share, so it shares the screen, and then let's see. So the sound is up here.
All my fault, Clinton. Anytime I'm around electronics and computers, they don't work right. So what I'm doing, but it's not working because of me.
Okay, so I'll forward any hate mail to ERI on your behalf.
Yeah, if it's all right, I want to give a couple of closing things to your audience and answer any questions you've got. But I would just say, like, when I first got started in sidewalk counseling and talking to people about abortion, I had this idea that everyone who had set up an abortion appointment had made up their mind. It was a done deal. That's what was happening. And I just want to encourage people to say that is not the case. It's by no means because they have appointments scheduled are they determined to go through with their abortion? And I tell people like that. I hate putting people on a scale, but if we were going to, and say the scale was from like 1 to 10, 10 being this is their 5th abortion, they don't think about it any more than you or I think about getting our wisdom teeth or going to the dentist. But then maybe a 1 called, barely found the courage to make the appointment, and then just never got up and went to it. They just didn't go to it. Maybe a 2 is somebody who got in the car and they're desperately looking for a sign that makes them feel like it's a bad idea, and they see a bumper sticker, and so they don't go through it. Maybe a 3 is somebody that gets all the way to the abortion clinic and sees the clinic and they just go, this is bad. Maybe a 4 is somebody that get to the clinic and they see people with signs. Maybe they're even bad signs or good signs, and they go, okay, somebody else thinks this is a bad idea. I think this is a bad idea. I'm just not going to go through with this. And you've got just this scale of people all the way through. There's also another like kind of group of people or whatever that I've seen happen at the abortion clinic, where one day I was at the clinic, I had my sign that says, here to help, not to judge. And cars it slowed down pretty well, but this Cadillac comes pulling in. It's really clean Cadillac, old model Cadillac, but just spotless, waxed, clean. And you could tell the owner of this car took pride in it and had it detailed well. So this man gets out, and it's an older black man. And he's like really well dressed. He's not like wearing a suit, but he's wearing like a sweater vest kind of thing. And he's got it's clear that all his clothes are well ironed. He's got nice creases. He's got clean shoes. That he's clearly, this man cares about his appearance and takes good care of himself. And I'm at kind of a loss. I don't know what to do. Like, what do I say to this single man that just got here? And so I was like, well, I'm just diving in. Let's just go. And so I go, I'm sure this is a hard day for you. I'm sorry for what you're going through. Thinking like maybe he's a drug rep or something. He thinks I'm crazy. And his response was quite the opposite of what I expected. I'd never seen this before. I don't remember seeing this. He just looked at me with a puzzled look and was like, what? And I said, well, nobody really wants to be here, and so I'm sorry you found yourself in this position. It must be difficult. And he looks at me, he's still curious, and he starts saying, and it's like a light bulb starts going off in his head while he's saying these words. He goes, but I'm here because my daughter has a cyst, and I'm here to help her pay for the cyst removal. It was like he was, oh my goodness, that's not what's happening. And I said, sir, I'm just here to give people all the information. I think people make the best choices when they have all the information, and you don't have accurate information. This place doesn't do cyst removals. This is an abortion clinic. This is abortion day. You're here to pay for an abortion. How much are you here to give? And I can tell you about how far along she is. See, so I already have some of this information. So he tells me, and I'm like, okay, so she's about here. And I show him in the pamphlet that we have just showing fetal developments, this first page. And he's like, yeah, I'm starting to realize that it's an abortion clinic, not a cyst removal. I said, okay, how do you feel about it? What do you want to do? And he goes, as a matter of fact, I want to back up just a little bit. I don't think I actually showed him any pictures. I knew about where, but anyway, he said, I'm not okay with that. My daughter's not going to have an abortion. And I said, really? Okay. Your daughter's not going to have one, but she's here. And like, what? He's like, I'm going to go get her. I'm going to go get her out in a very loving way. I'm going to go get my girl out. And so I'm just kind of rattling in my brain like, whoa, did this just really happen? And so he walks up there, and a few minutes later, he comes down, and just a couple minutes later, his daughter comes out from behind him, and they hop in, and he drives off, and he's like, and I'm like, can we help? Can we do anything? He's like, nope, done anything. We'll take care of this. She's just confused, or she's had a hard day, and she doesn't know that in our family, we're going to take care of each other. And I want to encourage like other people. Sometimes it's just that complicated. I'm just there with a sign that says here to help, not to judge. This is an abortion clinic, not a cyst removal. And that led to this man coming to the realization that he was there to pay for an abortion. He didn't know it. He thought he was just helping his daughter with some standard medical procedure. And so she left, Just that simple. You can do that too. Just about anybody can do that. You just need the right information and stand there. Now, we want to help you at ERI get to where you can have some really difficult conversations with people who are really set on having the abortion, and hopefully talk to them to where they make the decision, this is not what I want to do today, and they decide to leave. Now, we help you do that, but some of this stuff is just so much easier than I think people realize.
Yeah. Okay. I think I figured out the issue. StreamYard has changed the way that they do screen sharing. So I think I figured it out.
Okay.
So here is the trailer for the Sidewalk Counseling Masterclass, and assuming it all goes well, we'll watch the video and then I'll give out the discount code. So here we go. Oh, are you getting audio?
I am not.
Oh, yeah, I'm not getting any audio either. Well, that's frustrating. Okay, well, let's see. What might be the issue here? Oh, the site seems to have been muted. Okay, 25th time is the charm here. There we go. Did you hear that?
I can't hear it.
Oh, let me play it again here.
Oh, it's very faint.
Okay, let's see. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and play the video, and hopefully it'll show up with better sound to the people who are listening.
Yeah, I can't hear a thing.
Okay, I guess I'll just provide a link then to the video. Don't know why that's not. Don't know why the audio's not playing on that. Okay. Well, anyway, so yeah, so I'll provide a link to the video where you can watch the trailer for that. And so let's see, we're still on screen sharing, so I'll go ahead and get back there. Okay, so if any of my listeners are interested in taking the Sidewalk Counseling Masterclass at Equal Rights Institute, the discount code is PLT10. That's PLT10. And I do believe the PLT has to be uppercase as well. And that'll be good for 10% off the Sidewalk Counseling Masterclass, and that code is good for a week. So you're not going to want to put that off, but you're going to want to take advantage of that as soon as possible. Okay, well, apologize that the audio on the video wasn't coming through. It was coming through on over my headphones that last time once I unmuted the site. Not sure why it wasn't coming through for you, but at any rate, I'll provide the link there. So, Jacob, where can people find you online?
Yeah, so you can go to equalrightsinstitute.com and find me there. And if you've got any questions or anything, my email is jacob@equalrightsinstitute.com. And love to, I love to learn from other people. I love to figure out how I can help people. It's now a big part of my job where anyone who buys the Sidewalk Counseling Masterclass, up until this point, and I hope to continue with this, I reach out to them personally, give them my personal information, and because I want this to be a community where we can really, I can really help people. And I've spent hours on the phone with just, like maybe one person trying to help them get through what they're going through with some difficulties. I had somebody, we've got a whole thing about talking to the police, and she was just having a nightmare of a problem with the police and didn't know what to do. But now she's in a great position and things are going well. I love to help other people, and maybe you've got some kind of particular to your situation that we might be able to talk through and come up with a plan on how you can be the most effective. So I want to be an available person out there. This isn't just get the class, good luck, go through it, but I'm very involved with talking to people.
Well, great. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast and for sharing your insights and wisdom with us.
Thank you so much, Clinton. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, and the chorus of dogs you're hearing, thank you as well. Um, yeah, if you sit tight for a moment, we can say our official goodbyes as soon as I end the broadcast.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed the content that we brought here today, please give us a thumbs up on the video. No, I might need to wait till the dogs finish. Well, actually, hold on. Oh, that's not gonna work. Um, Okay, well, I'll just go ahead and finish it quickly here. If you enjoyed the content, then please give us a thumbs up on the video. If you enjoyed the interview and would like to see more, subscribe and hit the notification bell to always be notified when we go live. Because we talk about sometimes we talk about the academic arguments, but sometimes we also bring on people who have specific insights that are lacking from myself and from Nathan, who can talk talk with more authority on certain topics related to abortion and things like that. So you'll definitely want to come back when we talk to more people. I've got some folks in mind. Matthew Sherrard recently published a book. The philosopher Joshua Rasmussen recently published a book on what makes you the thing that you are, which I think would be really interesting for those who might be more philosophically inclined. And I'd like to see if I can bring him on. So I've got some great ideas for some guests, and hopefully you'll be able to get that pretty soon. So yeah, if you have the means and would like to financially support the podcast to help make the podcast as good as it can possibly be, there are a couple ways you can do that. You can go to the Life Training Institute website at prolifetraining.com and then click on donate in the drop down menu. Make sure to put my name in the note section so that LTI knows to put your donation into my account. You can also find us on Patreon. We have a Patreon set up there at patreon.com/prolifethinking, and you can get some great perks if you decide to financially support the podcast, up to and including once or twice a month. You can have some personal training with me where I can role play an interaction with a pro-choice person to help give you some confidence in your interactions. Or if you have something you're working on, I can help provide some feedback for that. Things like that. We can include your name on the videos. All sorts of perks you can find out by going to that. But if you can't give, by all means, don't feel obligated. This information will always remain free. We have absolutely no intentions to put any of it behind a paywall, because we feel that the information is just too important to require people to pay for it. So this information here will always remain free as well. So if you can't afford to give, then please don't feel obligated. But if you can, we have a lot of things that we'd like to do to help improve the quality of the podcast. Getting some more lights to kind of improve the look of it. New cameras, things like that, and also to help provide monthly subscriptions to things like StreamYard and to Blog Talk Radio to help with the to help give the location to store the podcast and things like that. I have a website I like to build, all of that which requires finances. So if you'd like to help with the improvement of that, then by all means feel free. But again, don't feel obligated. So once again, on behalf of the Pro Life Thinking podcast, I'd like to thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.